Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Wow, it was a beautiful day. We had 80-degree weather today and we went to the beach and I just decided I had to make some beach art when I came home. So today we're gonna make this cute postcard and we're gonna kind of break some stamping rules and I think you're gonna have fun. And there on the back I just stamped postcard info because, you know, I think I would send this. Why not? I can't think of a reason. Okay, so yesterday I got a request from a Facebook friend from the Frugal Crafter Facebook page, and they wanted to see if I could come up with a way to make an inexpensive version of Peerless watercolors. And Peerless is a brand name. They make these really concentrated dye watercolors that come in a little paper booklet. And I thought, well, you know what I could do? I tried several different options, and I found that using my Inktense blocks to scribble out like squares and on plastic paper, this is Yupo paper, you could use like a report cover or any sort of plastic sheets of transparencies or anything like that you have, and then I just put I put it in a file folder and put a piece of wax paper in between so I could close it up and keep it safe and sound, and that worked great. So I just wanted to show you that final folder that I had. But then I had all these like little practice ones because I was just trying out different medias. I was trying watercolor paints, which worked really good. I love the watercolor paint version. And then I had this just set of that I swatched out of my basic 12 set of Inktense, and I was playing around and I came up with this, so I thought this is what I'll do my tutorial with, so you know you don't have to have a ton of supplies and you can still make something that's really cool. And of course, you know what? You can also just use a wet brush and pick up your paint from a watercolor palette or from your Inktense blocks. This is just a different way to, you know, skin the cat, I guess. And it's also a kind of a cool idea if you're teaching a class, or maybe you want to go somewhere and you didn't want to bring your big bulky palette or risk losing supplies. You can swatch them out like that. Okay, so let's get to the project. What I have here is a piece of smooth printmaking paper. This is Reeves BFK printmaking paper. You could use a smooth cardstock as well. Doesn't really matter. It's up to you. This paper is really nice for absorption of watercolor, so that's why I'm using that. And I'm going to use Distress ink for this. And Distress ink is reactive with water. So you're thinking, Lindsay, what are you doing? You're going to stamp with that and then you're going to put watercolor on it. It's going to be a hot mess. Well, I'm actually going to use the fact that the Distress inks bleed to my advantage. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp this little crab here down, I would say kind of in the lower, he's kind of like crossing the lower third. We're rule of thirds if you were to make a grid 3 ways, so 2 lines that way, 2 lines that way, like a tic-tac-toe. If you keep your focal points kind of on the axes where the grids would cross, it gives you a pleasing composition. Alright, so we got a little crab there, and I'm gonna stamp this seashell. This is by Art and Echo, and guess what? You'll have a chance to win these if you go to my blog. Link is below the video. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll be posting a giveaway, I think on Friday, which is tomorrow, or maybe it's today, depending on when you're watching it. Who knows? It's a it's a mystery. I'm gonna stamp this little seashell down here. And I'm going to stamp this saying that says, to find a seashell is to discover a world of imagination. These are some nice stamps. I actually haven't used this sentiment yet. I took the backing off of it tonight. It's one of those kind of, it's kind of one of those quirky sayings, and it's kind of hard to figure out how you're going to use it, but I thought this postcard would be perfect. Okay. So there, we've got our stamping done. Oops, I hit the tripod, sorry about that. And then, so to use your palette here that I showed you how to make yesterday, so please refer to that video if you're curious, I'm just going to wet a paintbrush, and I'm going to use this as if I was, you know, using a watercolor palette. So if I want you to be able to see the close-up of my card, so this is what I'll be doing. I was wetting my brush, and I'm wiping across the color, and since this is a plastic paper, the paint will, even though it's Inktense and it's supposed to be permanent when it's dry, it actually will lift up because of the plastic substrate. So here, I'm just going to paint this loosely in here. I'm going to use some yellow, I'm going to use some orange, and I'm going to let that black run because I think it really looks like your Chinese ink paintings and your Japanese Sumi-e art. So that's why I decided I wanted to kind of use that bleeding ability of the Distress. And Black Soot is one of those colors that I hardly ever use. I'm not a big, I mean, I usually will stamp like in black if I'm gonna, or brown if I'm gonna color something, but generally I don't use black very much. And so that ink pad is so nice and fresh and just sitting there because it, you know, it's totally unused most of the time. So this will be a good excuse to get it out. I'm just letting that black run. So, you know the old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. That's kind of how I feel with the when you're kind of letting your materials do what it wants to do instead of what you kind of want to force it to do. And the more water you add, the more your ink will run, so just keep that in mind. I want to get this claw done up here. Probably should have switched to a round brush, but I think I'll be able to work around that. Get a little bit of red in there. So I'm using these are the basic colors that were in my set of 12 Inktense, the first ones that my friend Maureen gave me. And that's all. And you know, if you're using watercolor pencils, which you can, or watercolor paints, you're generally going to have colors like this in a basic set. So that's another reason I wanted to do that, so you didn't feel like you had to go out and, you know, spend a lot of money or buy some new supplies in order to get this effect. You don't. You should always try with what you have first, because a lot of times you're going to find that what you have is just fine for most techniques. All right, and I think I just want to add a little bit of this blue here. It looks like maybe a Prussian blue. Just add a little bit of that into the claws, because I'm not really sure, because I see a lot of crabs on the at the shore, but usually they're dead. They've been, you know, the seagulls have got to them and they're bright red, but I'm not really sure if they're bright red when they're running around, so I'm going to get a little blue in there, maybe some accuracy, who knows. Okay, for the little seashell over here, I'm going to grab some of this this brown and a little bit of yellow. I just want to kind of add a little bit of color in there, and see it's really blending with the black. I want to add some more of that blue in there. And I don't want to get it too mucky. I just want to kind of give it some sort of color so it's not just black. Alright, now I want to give the, I want to make kind of a sandy color, so I'm going to use that brown again and add a little bit of blue to it so it makes a nice brown. And I'm just going to throw in a little, just little, I don't know, beachy lines? Beachy lines, there we go. I've been to the beach today, I'm making beachy lines. And I'm going to use some of this lighter blue, almost like a cerulean blue, to add some, just to kind of act like the water, it's kind of, the crab is kind of dancing in where the water waves are splashing up to the shore. Bring that right over by our little whatchamacallit, seashell. Yes, whole basis of this card is seashells, and I can't think of the name. Oh, good grief. And some more of that sandy color. And the plastic Yupo paper, or, you know, any sort of plastic you want to use, is also, if you leave a space, you can have a nice mixing area, which is very nice. I feel like I want some yellow on that seashell. We don't really get too many seashells like that in Maine. Our seashells are pretty lame up here. We don't get the pretty ones like you see in the, you know, souvenir shops. Ours are pretty, I don't know, we get clam shells and some oyster shells. Nothing too fancy, really. Alright, and I'm going to just take some of this nice navy-ish, Prussian blue or navy or something, and get this up here. I don't know what this is, this part of the crab is, but it looks awfully good when I paint it navy. That's all I know. And these colors I find in like the basic set of Inktense pencils also remind me of, you know, your basic Chinese inks. And that's, you know, that really goes well with the bleedy black. Because if you were doing some Sumi-e painting and you were starting with black and then you added color to it, you get a very similar effect. So I just think that's kind of a nice way to pay homage to Asian art. And most of these stamps that come from Art Deco are very Asian inspired, and they're just gorgeous, and it's so nice to be able to capture some of that essence when you're working. And I'm just going in and redefining some of the legs, brightening up the color. I'm not sure if I like that. I think I might even like it better when it's kind of loosey-goosey. And then I would like a little more orange in there. And then as a final touch, I would like to spatter some of the browns and blues on there, just kind of like that. If I use a larger brush, I'll get bigger splats. A smaller brush, I'll get smaller ones. And then I'm going to go around the edge here, just give it a little bit of a color. Try not to be perfect because it's going to look better if you're not trying to be perfect. Just go right on the edge, make a pretty border. And then this is wet, but I'll show you the stamp that I used to stamp the background, the back side of this. And I feel like I want to get a little bit of that there to show that the crab is actually running around there. So I would call that finished, but to do the back, I'll show you that back from the dry one, so it does shift a little bit when it dries. This postcard stamp is also by Art Deco, and here it is. It's a nice big postcard stamp, and after that dries, I'll flip it over and stamp that on the back. So there you have it. Please go to my blog, thefrugalcrafter.wordpress.com, for your chance to win the stamps I used in today's tutorial. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any other videos. Make it to the beach this summer, because you should. Grab the kids, fill your van up with your kids, and take them to the beach, and then take them for an ice cream. It's such a fun day. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.